6.3. So the ready is review. I don't really want to spend time on the ready. You are plotting those points on the graph here. When it says connect your points with a smooth curve, it does not want this. That's not smooth. Smooth is this. That's smooth. Okay, there should be no sharp edges at all. And then use your graph, so it needs to be accurate. Use your graph to identify, or answer questions 2, 3, and 4. So the max and mins. This curve repeats itself, so you're going to see that it keeps going and going and going. So an example would be, something like, sorry, that's a horrible one, but it would just be the same on and on and on and on and on and on. Pretend I could draw good. And that does mean that it is periodic. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going. When it's asking you to find the length of the interval that allows you to see exactly one full length of the curve, it would be, okay, if I start here, where does it start to repeat itself? Okay, I go down, I go up. Okay, there's a cycle. I go down, I go up, there's another cycle. Down, up, there's another cycle. So it's wanting you to identify where that is taking place. I could have started, let me get rid of this. I could have started down here and said an interval was that, and then that, and then that. So it's just where it keeps repeating itself. And then in 4, the curve is positive on the interval -2, 2. Positive means it's above the x-axis. Identify 2 more intervals where the curve is positive. So we need to remember above the x-axis. That's positive. Okay, let's move on to the set. Again, I need to spend some time here since we are not doing the tasks right now in class. I might be going over this one with you. It's a great task, and it kind of leads us to some discoveries that are good. So on Monday, some of you are going to get to this video either Thursday or Friday. If we did this task in class already, okay. But if you're trying to do this RSG before we have a chance to go over it in class, then hopefully this will help. But if not, this set is something that can wait until after we do some stuff in class. So our main focus has been the sine function. We've done a little bit with cosine and tangent, but our main focus is sine. So we're going to use the given point to find sine. In the task, we discover these 2 things. Those are from the task. We discover that r, which is the radius, is the square root of x squared plus y squared. I actually just prefer the Pythagorean theorem, and I prefer to just call it x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So when you're given a point, you are given x and y. So I can use that since sine is y over r, which is the y value divided by your radius. Don't forget r's radius. I'll write that down, because if I write it, you'll write it. So the r is my radius. So what you guys are going to go through on these 4 questions is you need to find the radius first. So when I'm given the point, here's my x, here's my y, I don't need to go through and identify opposite adjacent hypotenuse anymore. I can just use x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So I'm going to use 4 squared plus 3 squared equals r squared. I go through, I end with r equaling 5. I'm not going to go through that. If you don't get it, then you need to do the work. So now I have y is 3 and r is 5, and sine of theta is y over r. So sine of theta, y is 3, r is 5. That's my answer. That's all we're doing here. Okay. just a quick review, because you see in the next few that you actually do have some square roots. I'll just do a quick review over here. When I'm squaring something like the 4 root 3, let's say I have a 5 root 2. When I square that, don't forget that's 5 squared, square root of 2 squared. We've spent a lot of time on this. That cancels. This is 25 times 2, which is 50. Okay, so please make sure you go through that correctly. In the next one, you have a fraction. So let's say we have the square root of 5 over 2. And I square this. Okay, my fraction is squared. This becomes the square root of 5 squared over 2 squared, cancels, and I get 5 over 4. So don't stress about these. They're not bad. It's review. The only thing I'm concerned about is just telling you guys that x squared plus y squared equals r squared, and that sine is y over r. Eventually we will discover that, okay? We will go back and do this task, and hopefully that will help you. So in number 9, where it is asking you guys to identify the angles of rotation, what is meant by angles of rotation where it's changing? It's from, so like if I were to say, where is y positive? Y is positive from 0 to 180. Okay, because that's the top part. But to write this, so this would be positive. To write this, I would have to say that my theta, whoops, not equal to, theta has to be between 0 and 180. So however you choose to write it there, you guys can do the negative one. Okay, so think about where is the y value negative? And use your angle measures, use your unit circle if you need to. And then you guys can answer number 10. Hopefully, you guys will be able to get that answered. You're going to use 5, 6, 7, and 8 to answer all of that. Okay. For 11, you guys can use your unit circle. You guys should remember that sine, what one goes with sine, the y value goes with sine. So you guys can use your unit circle to help you find the sine at these angle measures. Okay, and the last 4, this is going back to right triangles. You are going to need to draw a triangle, and then you're going to have to determine if you're going to use SOHCAHTOA. Are you going to use sine, cosine, or tangent? But if you draw your triangle wrong, you are going to end up getting the entire thing wrong. So please be very careful as you are drawing your triangles. Okay, sorry, I had to pause for a little bit, so I don't quite remember where I was. We're going to draw pictures of triangles. We're going to label everything correctly, and if you don't, you get it wrong, kind of thing. So we need to make sure we pay attention to the words, and then we will be using SOHCAHTOA. I am going to do for you guys number 15. So the angle of depression from the top of a building to a car parked in the parking lot is 32.5 degrees. How far from the top of the building is the car on the ground? If the building is 252 meters high. So I'm going to start with the triangle. So it's always going to be a triangle. This side is my building. And it says the building is 252 meters high. It says the angle of depression from the top of the building to a car parked in the parking lot. So here would be the car. Forgive my drawing. Here's my car. The angle of depression, that's here. So we have 32.5. So the depression is the looking down. Elevation would be the bottom angle looking up. So depression is I am standing at the top and I am looking down. What is that angle? So I have the 32.5. Here's my right angle with the ground and the building. When it's asking for, so I've taken and I've labeled everything that I've been given. I've been given the angle of depression. I've been given the height of the building, and the car is parked away from the building in a parking lot. How far from the top of the building is the car on the ground? So now I have to think about, what am I being asked to find? I want how far from the top of the building, so here's the top of the building, to the car. This is what I'm looking for. So my theta is 32.5, so here's theta. This is the adjacent side, and this is my hypotenuse. So what uses adjacent and opposite? Cosine. Cosine of theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. So cosine of 32.5 degrees equals adjacent, which is 252 over hypotenuse. Now we're going back to what we did in Module 5. These are going to switch, and my hypotenuse is 252 over the cosine of 32.5, and then you would use your calculator. Okay, so you have to make sure you draw your triangles correctly and label everything correctly, and then pick the right sine, cosine, or tangent trig function. So hopefully the other three won't be so bad. Take your time drawing your pictures. Make sure you label everything correctly. Think about it. Work together if you need to. If you're stuck, then you can ask me in class. You can ask me before school or at lunch, and we'll get you through this. All right, that's all I got for that one. See you later.